Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is G. Cole, and welcome to Homegrown, where I get to share with you some good music while talking to some great people. Hello world, I hope you're feeling as good as I am. I want to pick up all my homegrown listeners out there and welcome all the new listeners. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so we can keep you updated when new material is available. We do release new episodes bi-weekly. Want to thank everyone who has been listening, subscribe to the podcast, and if you haven't already done so, please do. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, all your podcast platforms. We listen to some great music. We talk to some great people. Oh, we're also available on Amazon Music, Amazon Prime, and subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is episode 169. Today's guest, world revered reggae journalist and author, Mr. John Masouri. He's in town for the Miami Book Fair. He's got his brand spanking new book out, Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s. Something that you've got to add to your collection as I'm going to be adding to mine, all right? The book fair is Sunday, November 23rd, 1 p.m., 300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami, room 8106, building 8 on the first floor. You don't want to miss it. Today's episode comes to you courtesy of the brand spanking new compilation, The Wake the Town Rhythm, courtesy of Mr. Vegas' MV Music, featuring G. Cole, Ed Robinson, Ernie Smith, Cecile, Etana, Christopher Martin, Akeem Fennell, Fiona, and Mr. Vegas. Available right now on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and all your digital retailers. Let's go. I got the Bible, baby. I got the Bible. Let me just read something from it for you. Hope, I know you love what's going on. Oh, and I got a full house, too. I got other special guests in the building. You know what I mean? I got some special guests. I got the lovely lady. We always have to have the lovely lady in here. Make it feel heavenly. Too many guys in there, it feels like a bar. You know what I mean? It feels like a bar. But it's with no liquor in it, you know? So we're just here. No bartenders, no nothing. You know what I mean? And special guests, I'll mention later on, once we get the clearance to mention your name, because I don't know, witness protection, all that good stuff. I got to keep you safe.
I want to keep the show on. That's all.
It's your day. Let me open up these microphones, make sure we got what we going. Pressure Drop. John, welcome, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you. You make me feel like Moses, I'll tell you.
Well, listen, part the Red Sea, the proverbial reggae Red Sea. I love it. Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s.
Yeah.
All right, and let's get in. I love the idea of chronicling, getting the information from then, because I'm a fan.
Yes.
I'm a student, but I came a little late. You know what I mean? So I missed out on a lot.
Are we still talking about books?
We're talking about, well, depends on the audience. We have different audiences, and we have to entertain everybody.
All right.
But there are many of my idols that I haven't had the opportunity to meet.
Yes.
Because they left before I was here,
yes,
or while I was still too young to have met them.
Yes.
So speaking to someone like yourself, you are taking me in the room. Right, you got to take me in a room with them, take me back there. So in my mind, and when I'm making my stuff up, because you know how we make stuff up. When I'm making stuff up, I'm like, I was talking to D Brown. I never met him, but I was talking to D Brown. That's what we do. Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s. Talk to me about just the title of this book.
Oh, so much happened in the 70s. I mean, when you think about it, the 70s was when DJing came into effect. It was when dub came. It was when rockers and rebel music came. But, we also had crooners, we had balladeers. It was when, the punks took on to root reggae and did things with it. Two-tone, in Britain, they did their thing with it. Also in Britain, we had Lovers Rock, which was like an offshoot of the Jamaican thing. It was when, the influence from Jamaica really took hold somewhere else in the UK.
Right.
But people there, they wanted their own interpretation of it because their life was different. Their families may have been Jamaican or Caribbean.
Right.
But they were eating egg and chips.
Right. It wasn't, I can't saltfish. No.
It wasn't.
I got you.
So a new fusion came out of that. So all of that is in the book. And then politically in Jamaica and in England, it was turmoil.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, Jamaica went through that whole socialism, experiment with Michael Manley, and he was talking to Rastas. How often had that happened? The influence of Rastafari was coming on strong in that decade.
Right.
So you can't leave out Nyabingi, you can't leave out all of that Orthodox situation. It was the decade when the 12 tribes came about, 12 tribes of Israel.
Right.
So you'd got the political, you'd got the religious, you'd got the musical, you'd got the whole thing. And living through it, I mean, I was a civilian in those days, right? I wasn't writing.
You weren't in the trenches yet.
I wasn't, no.
Right.
So therefore, I grew up with Jamaican people because in England, if you come from certain cities like London, Birmingham, and I came from Nottingham, so a lot of Caribbean people, Jamaicans, so I was first generation to go to school with people. So you can be sat next to someone in the school desk and, where are you from? And, I'm from Harbourview, I'm from this. So these names were familiar to me long before I went to Jamaica, So... And the music was on our television screens once a week, the charts, There were people like Desmond Decker and Jimmy Cliff and all these pioneers were there.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't, you didn't have to go and search for it. Jamaican music was part of growing up in England, right? So, and, I was still at school when I was going to blues parties, and and you go there, and people make you feel welcome. Here's some food, go and stand in the corner.
Right.
And so you're soaking up the vibes, you're soaking up the music. So I didn't go and explore, to find this thing.
It found you pretty much.
Exactly,
Wow.
and so that was the beginning of it, really. And then in the 70s, so much was happening and so quickly that if you were a record fan, you had to be in the shop every week. You couldn't go on holiday, because you might miss something.
Right.
There's a new singer, there's a new style. So when I was writing the book, I wanted to capture that feeling that you're strapped to a roller coaster and you can't get off.
Right.
And so much is happening, so much that is new to you, and it's happening with speed.
And in real time,
Yeah. And so all that I wanted that to be, to people reading the book, to get that vibe and
I gotcha.
And get that whole thing.
As I was combing through the bio information and seeing all the stuff that you've been a part of, I've always wondered with myself, how do, sometimes there's epiphanies, there's a little moment that we say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to, because we experience different things in passing, we get experience with this, that, and the other, then we move on.
Yes.
Right? And I tell people all the time, even when I compare South Florida, I said, Florida is not diverse. South Florida is diverse.
Right.
Right. So when we talk about the UK also, not everywhere is a diverse melting pot, but there are certain parts that are.
Yeah.
And with that, we end up with, books like these, authors like yourself, who are telling a story from a front seat vantage point, being there. Right. Talk to me about meeting, because like I said, you're going to take me in a room and I'm just going to throw names out there at it, but I'm just dropping names and you're going to just take it from there, right? I still haven't met him yet. Jimmy Cliff.
Jimmy Cliff, one of my favorite people, he always describes himself as the thumb, right? Not the fingers, but the thumb. It's part of the hand, but it's not the same as the other digits.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes.
And he proclaims that.
Yeah.
What? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Definitely. And when you think about the things this man has achieved, you know, I mean, he was one of the early pioneers that went and played in Africa.
Yeah.
Look how important that is these days. And he had to take his own equipment because, you know, the infrastructure wasn't there. Yeah. He was in New York in the mid '60s. He was there when Malcolm X was assassinated.
Wow.
He was in the theater. You know, he'd gone there to that meeting.
I had no idea.
Right. And he appeared at the World Fair in New York, 1964, you know, and which was the moment that ska music made its first steps outside of Jamaica into the world, you know. And he was part of that. And then he met Chris Blackwell in New York, and Chris said to him, come to England because, you know, there's no other singer like you.
Right, right.
And so he came to England, and he was absolutely right. There was no
There's
other.
none. To this day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so he's always been an individual. He's always made his own path and done his own thing. I have absolute respect for this man. And I love speaking with him. I love meeting him. And he's always so generous with his time. And we talk about his early days in London, and one of his earliest shows in London, he had this support act, you know, this young guy from New York who played guitar, and this guy said to him, "My name's Jimmy too," you know. And Jimmy Cliff said, "So who are you?" And he said, "My name's Jimi Hendrix."
Oh, wow. Wow. What a way for a legend to meet another legend.
Yeah.
Wow. The Jimmys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Jimmy Cliff. Have not met him yet, but like just from seeing him on the big screen, seeing him wherever, there's an aura, there's an energy, there's a feeling of royalty almost when it comes to a Jimmy Cliff, right?
Yes.
And like I said, looking forward to meeting him, seeing him perform in real time. And to me, I feel like that's it's a luxury, but it's a wealth in itself to be able to sit down and spend moments and capture personal instances with these artists, right?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about Jimmy is the harder they come, of course. And I mean, I said I went to school with Jamaican people, right? And when the harder they come came out, they had never seen things in that film,
right,
even though they may have been there as children and their family were Jamaican. Because for the first time on a screen, we saw zinc fence.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
You only heard of it before that.
Oh, we'd only heard Shantytown. We'd never seen it, right? We'd never seen the corruption, the exploitation about the record industry and these kind of things, or the ganja farmers in the hills, you know, or dreadlocks, you know.
Right.
Very, very few people in England had dreadlocks in 1973.
Right.
And Jimmy was he was the biggest star out of Jamaica at that time.
I've heard people say from that era, and in the music business, that Jimmy really was expected to be bigger than Bob.
Yes.
To some degree.
Yes.
Right? And then the question was always, but what happened?
Okay.
You know?
So and Chris Blackwell knew this, that Ireland at the time were not big enough to hold Jimmy. And he got a deal from EMI, who were a big player, major label, and they promised him all kinds of things, and he went with that.
Typical record business, right?
Yeah.
I got you.
And so Chris Blackwell filled the gap with this young guy, Bob Marley. So
wow,
that's how that happened.
It's amazing how things happen, and a lot of times we think we know. And we all think it's more sinister than it really is. Sometimes they always say the lie is interesting because the truth can be so boring. You know, so it's one of those things where sometimes you think it's just a lot more sinister than tell me the story. Nah, he just left.
Yeah.
just left. The other guy came in and it was a wrap. Right?
I don't think he wanted to leave Ireland, but he had ambition.
Right.
And you know what I noticed about a lot of those guys and women too from the 70s, they were driven by this sincere mission, to take this music and this culture internationally.
Right.
I mean, the first book I ever wrote was with Aston Family Man Barrett from the Wailers.
Right.
And he always used to say, we got to take this music to the four corners of the earth. Like it was square or something.
I love that term, though. I love it. I think it makes it feel more reachable. Like I could get there.
And the other part of the mission, the very important part, was to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
The music had to make people feel good. It had to teach them things,
Right.
And I always felt that reggae is a teaching music. It can teach people to live, you can live by it.
You can. It's somewhat spiritual.
Yeah.
And personally, I've always felt like the music of the 70s, the word I'd say is it felt more sincere.
Yes.
Over the years, technology and growth in instrumentation have allowed people to sound better. Sometimes you take a record from the past and today replicate it, and it's almost blasphemy to say the new version is a little better, but it kind of is. But when you listen to the two records, especially if you're listening to it on vinyl, there's a sincerity and a purity in there that you can never get today.
That's right.
And I'm always wondering, is it the time? Is it the era? It's not that we don't have sincere people now, but the content of what people are talking about then and the vibe and the feel is just not around here now, right? It's like stuff that goes on in World War I. World War II ain't the same. We got jets now. So it's a little different, right?
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about that era and how it contributed to the music. Is it really just the times people were relaying in the music that made it felt so sincere?
Yes, I think so. But I think it's also so much was still unknown. And so many territories, if you want to call them that, were unknown. And like going to Japan, was something. When Bob Marley went there, hardly anyone had been to Japan and taken the music there. So no one knew what was going to come out of that. It's the same with Australia and New Zealand, same with Latin America, same with parts of Europe. It's... the music was new. And also, for a lot of, European people, I can say, their sight of Rastas and listening to the music, it was like they'd never seen anything like this before. It intrigued them. It fascinated people. Like, who are these people? They're coming with something we've never heard about. I mean, even if you had a decent education, chances are you'd never heard the name Marcus Garvey and what he represented ever before.
Right.
So it wasn't until Burning Spear started singing about Marcus Garvey that you realize, why didn't I get taught this at school?
Right.
And there was so much like that. The music brought so much that was new.
Right. It was educational. And you mentioned growing up and going to school and getting introduced to a lot of this stuff while you were at school. Prior to that, musically, I'm sure there was like the punk scene and soft rock kind of. What were you into musically prior to this exposure to the crazy Wallace and Rastas of Jamaica?
Punks was long after that,
It was after. So what were you listening to? What were you into?
The first music I really loved. My first gig was Jimi Hendrix. Right. And the first 7 and 12-inch, LP I bought was Jimi Hendrix. And I loved that. And I loved the blues. And I tell you why, because even though we'd heard My Boy Lollipop and Jimmy Cliff and all these people, what I'd never heard was the blues. Right. And no one had ever sat down next to me in school called Howling Wolf or Muddy Waters. I knew nobody like these people.
Right.
So and that music had been and gone by that time, but I was fascinated by it, And we had the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and this is how we learned about these other things, because they were calling these names. And so that was very fascinating for me. And I think the thing is, in those days, you listen to the radio, you'd hear the Beatles, and then you'd hear Bob and Marcia.
Right.
And then you'd hear, some novelty song by some singing dustman or, refuse collector or something, I mean...
Hold a nice tune.
But, it was crazy. It was, or some crooner, that your parents liked. And that's what radio was like in those days.
Wow.
It was real pick and mix. So Otis Redding followed by, some comedy record.
Right. And this is radio.
That's radio. Yeah.
Wow.
So I feel very thankful that I had that kind of upbringing.
It's like before the advent of, what we call programming today. There's they're just freelancing, so to speak.
Oh, seriously, freelancing.
Wow. I mean, I think I'd like that, though. I'm not going to lie. I think I'd probably like to just listen to the radio and just hear anything, because a lot of times it's too regimented. Yeah. You know what I mean? You almost can. It's almost like a rhythm. When they play a song, you almost know what's coming next. Yeah. That's how radio is too.
And I tell you something as well. What happened in the 70s was that the 70s began, and there were, I think, in a fairly short period of time, like maybe a year, there was 40 Jamaican records that got into the UK top 20.
Wow.
It was very, very popular, very mainstream. Mm-hmm. And but the thing is that there were groups of like skinheads, these right-wing people, and they liked the music, but they didn't always like the people.
Right.
And they caused so much trouble that radio dropped playing reggae music.
Gotcha.
And that carried on for maybe about 3-4 years, and then Bob Marley came with a very different kind of reggae music. And I tell you, these people, the skinheads, they did not want to go back to Africa. They did not relate to these kind of lyrics.
Wow.
At all.
Right.
And that's, when the music changed, a lot of people felt safe to go back into the reggae bubble,
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. It's almost like even Bob Marley, when you talk about Bob Marley, the music is rebellious, right? Yeah. But it is so sweet that it'll lull you in. It's like one of those things it'll lull anybody in, no matter what your real mindset and feeling is, until you're way too far in and like Junior Gang to in too deep. Then you're like, damn, that's that's where I am. But I guess that's the power of not just reggae, but the power of an artist like a Bob. You met Bob?
I did meet him, and I saw him perform 3 times, and he was a great performer. Yes, he was a great performer. But I have to say that in the blues parties and the reggae dances, it was not Bob Marley who was the most popular.
Right.
It was Dee Brown.
Oh, man. That's my guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
It was Johnny Clark.
Yeah.
It was,
the lovers rock people for the most part.
But also the revolutionaries, Big Youth and so on. So, and Bob Marley, it was like when it got late, you might hear 1 or 2 Bob Marley.
It's still the same way right now in the dance.
All right.
That's why I won that the biggest artist, but that is still fact today. Is like you're not going to hear Bob until either way early or way late.
No, he was always hugely respected. Hugely respected.
Right.
Everybody had a Bob Marley album, and everyone knew what the latest Bob Marley was. But, when it was 3 a.m. and, you're not going to hear, you're going to hear Dee Brown all the way.
Some Gregory.
And Gregory. Exactly.
Yep. It's still the same. Hasn't changed. Changed. Every time I speak to somebody who said they met Bob, knew Bob, or so forth, I always ask, could you tell back then that he was on the trajectory? I'm not talking about the commercial aspect of it and Chris Blackwell, whatever they've been able to do to propel Bob and his music, but could you tell from the individual that he was going to be something special?
Yes.
You could?
Yes, because, I think every genre needs figureheads, right? We all need to know who to turn to when we feel like our bubble has reached a crisis point or something. So we need that small group of people, or maybe even one person, to say, you know what, it goes like this.
Right.
And I think that one of the defining moments was when Emperor Haile Selassie it was announced that he died. And so a lot of Rastafarian people were plunged into
despair, pretty much.
Yeah. And also confusion. If this man is the Messiah, how can he die?
How did he die? Yeah.
Right. So Bob Marley went into the studio with Marcia Griffiths and, with Lee Scratch Perry and, his inner circle. And they did that song, Jah Live. And everyone knew what to do after that.
Right. Wow. It's funny where music comes from. And to me, that was a place of necessity. Like you said, there's confusion going on. People not knowing what to do, where to go, especially your convictions are now kind of shaken. Imagine you're looking at, like you said, that's the Messiah. I don't expect him to have humanly issues like death,
Yes.
And then there comes a song and an artist that is very, very necessary. And that's a word I always talk about when it comes to Bob, is necessary.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we're right now having a great conversation, Mr. John Masouri, and we're talking about the book Pressure. Well, I'm gonna get to the book. I'm just trying to get into the rooms before. And you're here for the book fair.
Yes, I
Miami
am.
Book Fair.
Yes.
This is on November 23rd.
Yes, that's right. 1 o'clock, Building 8. I can't remember the rest
I got
of it.
details up in here. I think I have some dates. Let's see here. Sunday, the 23rd of November, 1 o'clock, room 8106. It's the Building 8, the first floor. It's 300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami. And you're going to come out. Do you find yourself, when you're in these, because I'm sure you're at book fairs and stuff like that a lot, right? You're the guy. One guy that's doing something totally different from what everybody's over here talking about, self-help and mental health and all the awareness and, you know what I mean? As the salmon swimmeth, so does the river floweth. And here you come talking about pressure drop, reggae in the 70s, right?
Yes.
I presume your area has a little different energy than where than the other than the other areas, right?
I think so. But, it's I am a writer, so therefore, The thing is that, and you must feel like this as a DJ, right? As a radio presenter, that Anne Murray here must have felt like that you're part of this this world, this music and so on, and you want to contribute. You love this music, you love this culture. And so you examine yourself, what are my skills?
Right.
What can I contribute?
Yeah.
And so my contribution is writing. It's books. It's journalism, if you like. And I looked at other genres like jazz, like blues, like rock, and there were writers that I liked and admired and respected. And what they did, they made me respect their genres and want to explore it and want to hear the music and want to learn about the people in it. And so very few people were doing that for reggae music.
Right.
And that's where I saw I could make a contribution.
Right.
And so that's why I'm sat here with you.
I love it. No, you mentioned, because I say to people all the time, most people I know who do what I call distinct, impactful stuff, they kind of knew that's what they were going to do from the get-go, right? Every doctor I know was a doctor at 2 years old. You know what I mean? They're in diapers and whatnot, but they were on that trajectory. They acted the part, right? They weren't wilding out like me, trying to go play football. Or they were in some form of a book, right? The two scientists I know were scientists at 3. Again, I was playing ball. They were kind of focused on something else. Did you, at a young age, did you know, or when did you know that this is what you wanted to do? You wanted to be a journalist. You wanted to be a writer. And, of course, chronicling the stuff you are talking about.
I always wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be like Picasso. This is what I wanted to do. And those doors weren't really open for me.
Right.
But, I love the music. And I was a DJ, and I did community radio, and I did all these sort of things. And I met Mikey Dread. Remember Mikey Dread?
Yes.
Dread at the
controls.
Right. He'd just done this. He'd narrated this series called Deep Roots, and he's got that great voice, and it was great narration. But he decided he'd like to do something for himself on Studio One. And I was doing lots of artwork for like reggae promoters and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell you how they paid me in those days.
We'll assume.
Yeah, that's it. So he said to me, I want you to, work on this script with me. And that was fabulous. I loved that.
Right.
I would have paid to do that.
Right.
Anyway, the script never got used, but he said to me, Black Echoes, this very well-known, weekly music paper, in London. They're looking for someone, a reggae person. And I'm going to fix it up for you. I think you could do this.
Right.
So, and then I get the call, or he called around one of the things, and he said to me, "Okay, it's all set up. It's all fixed. All you have to do is like go into their office and tell them, Mikey sent me, and that's it. It's all good." So I go to London. I go in the office, and I go up to the editor. And I say, my name's John Masouri, Mikey Dre. Oh, we haven't seen Mikey for months.
Wow.
Said, oh,
Really, Mikey?
No, he'd never said a word to them about anything.
What a setup.
I was set up. And she said, well, send me something.
Right.
And that was 38 years ago, and I still write for them now.
Wow.
Wow. So thank you, Mikey. And after that, he always bragged about how he was the one who gave me.
Listen, you got to take credit somehow, somewhere, right? Somebody's got to get it. Mikey's going to take it. Talking about authoring books, you mentioned your first book.
Yes.
And of course, you're talking about, again, reggae Jamaican culture.
Yes.
Was that the first book about reggae and Jamaican culture, or was that your first publication period?
Yeah, that was my first period. It was in the 90s, towards the end of the 90s. And I wanted to write a book about what was happening in Jamaica at the time, because I was going down there regularly. I was hanging out with the studios, moving around with people like Fatis, Bobby Digital and all these guys, and interviewing lots of people and writing about lots of people. So no publisher was
You weren't spending time uptown at all, were you?
Uptown? Where's that?
Forget about that. Okay, downtown guy having a downtown time. All right. Yeah, I'm down here with Fatis. I'm down here with Bobby Digital. I'm over here at Waterhouse.
Yeah,
I love it. The real experience.
Right. So no publisher was interested in that. But I thought, never mind, I have time, So anyway, what I did not want to do, which was to write a book about Bob Marley.
Right.
Because other people were writing books about and
everybody had their mouth.
I was never hanging out with Bob Marley, so I was not going to do that sort of thing. So then I get a call, and it's someone saying, "Oh, I'm Family Man's partner, and I'd like you to write his biography. He wants you to write his biography, and how much would you charge, and how long will it take?" And I thought she meant like 2 pages of stuff, So I said my price, and I said it'd take me a couple of days, and she said, "Really? I mean, his story is very deep,
right.
He wants you to write his life story." So we met in Amsterdam, and we spent like 3-4 days in this little hotel. And he got through, must be a pound of ganja, and that was it. And the thing is, he chose me because I'd been recommended by this guy in New York called Tony English.
Right.
And I'd been banned by Island Records, and so I wasn't on the gravy train.
It's a nice resume.
And so they thought I was the person for the job, And then we couldn't figure out how on earth we were going to do it, because he was on tour constantly. Family Man was the ultimate road warrior.
Right.
So he said, I know, you could come on tour with me, and we could do it, in between gigs.
Right.
So every so often, over a period of so many years, I'd just get on the tour bus or take a flight or come all around the States or around Europe or something. And we had a good time, and it took about 9 years to write that book.
Wow. So I presume that the book would have some of the history as well as some of the present.
Of course.
Because you were experiencing some of that in real time too.
Of course, but also it was... and it was glad tales because the man played on so many other people's records.
Yeah.
Burning Spear, Dennis Brown, Gregory, you name it.
Yeah.
And the Upsetters and the Hippie Boys and that. So we went into all of that, all of his beginnings. But then when it gets to Bob Marley, of course, he was the right-hand man.
Right.
And but then, looking back, it should have been 2 books.
Yeah.
There should have been a book about the music, and there should have been a book about what happened afterwards and the business and so on. And because, the truth is, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but Family Man could hardly read.
Right.
And he trusted people to look after him and Carly.
Right.
And but the paperwork that he signed, if he'd have had his time again, he wouldn't have signed them.
Right. Right.
So sad tales and glad tales. And then after that, I wrote a book on Peter Tosh.
Wow. Stepping Razor.
Yes.
It's funny, people talk about Bob so much with reverence, right? But when they talk about Peter, it's a total different. Reverence is there, but it's almost like I find that people want to dive a lot more into Peter than they want to dive into Bob. And I don't know if it's just because Bob released more in terms of, there's more music with his name on it. So I guess you feel he's more accessible via the recordings.
Yes.
But when we talk about the stories of the Stepping Razor of Peter Tosh, it's like, okay, it's like classroom. Now sit down, let me listen to you speak. Talk to me a little bit about the Stepping Razor himself, Peter Tosh.
Well, I interviewed over 100 people for that book. A lot of people, played with him or knew him, family members and so on. One of my favorite quotes about Peter was from Al Anderson, and it's very short. And he just said, Peter Tosh, my God, who is more hip than Peter Tosh?
So true. He was a cultural, a fashion, a whole icon in musically and outside of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we need another Peter Tosh? I think the world needs a lot more Peter Toshes.
It would be a lot different. It'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fearless.
Yeah.
And when I say fearless, I mean to the point where...
Almost reckless with it.
Terribly reckless with it. Yeah.
But we need that, though.
Yeah.
And what I loved about, again, a little younger, so I didn't meet him, but what I've loved about, from what I understand, is the music was the man was the music. Yes. Oftentimes with our artists, the music is a part of them, yes, and it's a separate thing. You have the artist over there, and sometimes if you met the artist and met the music, the two never met, Yes. But it seems to me like Peter Tosh and his music was, you got what you got.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No pretense whatsoever.
And no effort to pretend either. It's just like, whatever.
That's right. I can't remember Bunny Wailer's exact words to me about Peter Tosh, but it was more or less, you did not mess with Peter Tosh. No account did you mess with. No, and he would do anything, anything at all to back up what he believed in.
Right.
That purity, that strength of conviction. And this is what drew me so much to writing that book, because but also he was a great musician. He was the musician out of the 3 Wailers, for sure. He was the only one who could play an instrument when they first got together,
Right.
And he loved country music. He used to do Johnny Cash impersonations and all of this. He
was just into music.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And, things like in the mid-60s, before Zimbabwe, the country was called Rhodesia. And it was like an apartheid, white minority rule.
Right.
And they hung 5 black people in Rhodesia with no trial or a rigged up trial. And,
Right.
And Peter Tosh, the young Peter Tosh, who was about 20 at the time, decided to lay down in Spanish Town Road. Anyone who's ever been to Kingston and seen Spanish Town Road
Hasn't changed.
oh, that is a busy road.
Yep.
And this youth lay down in the road to stop the traffic in protest about what had happened in Rhodesia. You know,
Wow.
this is how political he was as a youth, and he had to be bailed out by Prince Buster. You know, so it was no manufactured thing. It was in.
He was
the
who he
guy.
was.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. You know, you're from the UK, so I'm going to dive into something that I find quite amazing. Lovers rock. You know,
Yes.
I have conversation with people that tell me they love reggae music because reggae to me is an umbrella word, right?
Yes.
Borderline anything that comes from a Jamaican artist or so forth, they'll umbrella it under reggae.
Yes.
It could be rocksteady, it could be dancehall, it could be whatever, but it's reggae. But in terms of what reggae really is and what lovers rock is, because lovers rock, to me, is not even a genre; it's just a concept of lyrics, right?
Right.
So, but I always think that lovers rock is the glue, is the bridge, is the conjunction more than anything else between the UK and Jamaica. And the reason why I feel that way is if you go across the globe, those are the two areas where lovers rock has impact. It doesn't have much impact in Europe, doesn't have much out in the West and stuff like that.
No.
Talk to me a little bit about that lovers rock era in the UK. You're talking about when it just began. What did that era feel like? Lovers rock seeping in.
Hey, that was girl power long before the Spice Girls. You know?
Little did they know. Little did they know. Wow.
No, you see, Rasta had really taken hold. We're talking mid-70s. Everything went Rasta. After the Harder They Come and Bob Marley, you know.
Right.
And so in the dances, a lot of the young girls and the women were expected to wear long skirts.
Militant
head
dressing
wraps.
ladies.
Yes, no makeup, none of this. I don't have to tell you about Jamaican girls or and British Jamaican girls are no different.
Right.
And so there was a fair proportion of them was going, I'm not wearing that.
Mini skirt, have to wear.
I tell you, we're going to wear what we like.
Right, right.
And they, a lot of them, they were from parents who were like Windrush generation. And this is the generation hardworking, wanting to integrate, wanting to have that pride, convey that pride in their background, in their culture, even though they're working in the NHS or transport or they're doing their bit, they maybe served in the World War II, a lot of them. So these people were good people, very moral, A lot of them were church people.
Right.
So their children, many of them were aspirational. They wanted good lives, they wanted a decent job. They wanted to bring their kids up, in a nice way and so on. So they weren't down with the rest of the thing.
Right, right.
And so, and they didn't want to be wearing, sackcloth and, covering their hair or all this business.
Right.
So what happened was, that that some of those reggae dancers, you go in there and it's just pure men. Pure men stepping,
It's not. That's not cool.
It's not cool because the young girls are somewhere else.
Right. Yep.
Where they are, we're at the talent shows and things like that, and they were singing and they were doing their own thing. And they were inspired by Delroy Wilson and Dennis Brown and John Holt and Marcia Griffiths and Judy Mowat and
Softer
so on.
side of the genre.
Right.
Yeah,
And so what the Soundmen did was that they started putting these female voices and songs on steppers rhythms and rockers rhythms.
Right.
to lure these girls back in the dances.
Right,
because
right.
the dances weren't happening without them.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. That is true.
So that's why I say it was girl power.
Right. Ladies have, and it hasn't changed. You know, it has not changed. That's the reason why they let the ladies in free. You know, because they figure more or less the ladies are in there, the fellas are coming.
That's
so.
it.
Man, the Lovers Rock era. You know, so many people say I love reggae music because I made a post once.
Yeah.
Got me in a little trouble, but I made a post that says reggae is amazing, reggae is life. But there's nothing like this thing called Lovers Rock, right?
Yes.
And stuff like that can be polarizing. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. You know, but people started saying no, it's reggae, and I'd ask, so who's your artist? Who do you love? Barry, so I'm like, yeah, you love Lovers Rock, you just don't know, right?
Yes.
It's Dennis Brown. I think, yeah, okay. Gregory, you love Lovers Rock, you just don't know. But let's not make you any wiser. This thing called Lovers Rock is a very, 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 very powerful thing. And I always feel like I said, it is a bridge between the UK and Jamaica because it is shared intimately by the two, like it is by no one else.
Do you know, G? I'm going to have to quote you on this because just before I came over here, I actually signed a deal to write a book on UK Lovers Rock.
Really?
And I've never said anyone.
Wow, the exclusive. We got the exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. Go get your Lovers Rock. You know what? Again, where's my camera at? We're talking to Mr. John Masouri. We're talking about Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s. You know, well, I need to get a copy of that book, by the way. Why don't you write it? Send it on over.
That's your copy.
This is my... Well, even if it wasn't, I don't think I was giving it back. But if I'm being honest, I wasn't going to give it back. But no, the Lovers Rock.
Yes.
When that comes out, got to get my hands on a copy of that one. The thing about recently, 10, 12, 13 years ago, a phrase was coined, the reggae revival, right? And I was saying, I think we should call it the reggae renaissance because there's nothing to revive. It wasn't dead. It was just not being appreciated the way it was supposed to be. But the way they approached it, even aesthetically, the optics and so forth, it came across very Renaissance, very throwback. And I'm like, throwback to when though? And then as I looked at everything, I said, it's a throwback to the 70s. You know, we looked at the 80s when dance hall was coming in, the 90s became a certain area. But when I looked at that reggae revival and I say, Renaissance, because it's a throwback to the 70s. You might have heard the term.
Yes.
That's when Chronics and Protege and stuff like that was ushering. What was that feeling for you? You're fast forwarding now, modern day time.
Yes.
Almost, for lack of a better word, it's nostalgic to think about the 70s because it's almost, I don't want to say died, but it wasn't being appreciated and pushed as it's supposed to be. The connoisseurs, if I go dig in Maury's record collection, I can find some 70s music.
Yes.
But for most people, you know, my age and so forth, I'm not going to find it, right? They know of it, but it's not there. Was there any form of, you know, nostalgic, you know, yes, we're getting this back when you saw the Chronics and them were rolling out and the Jesse Royals and so forth coming out and talking about this whole reggae revival? What was that energy like for you?
Do you know, the first stirrings I witnessed were, you know, we're talking now 2010, 11 kind of time, 2012. And I remember being down there and there was hardly any live scene going on before. And then there were Wiki Wackies and Jamnesia and these places, you know, out in Bull Bay. And so we had the stirrings of live performances in Kingston again, instead of just big stage shows, you know. And I thought that was very interesting. And also what I thought was interesting was that there was a new generation of musicians coming through the Edna Manley School. So they'd had some formal training. And, you know, you got Ibu Coper from Third World, who's a teacher there, and Willie Stewart and so on. So this was the real thing happening. And then someone said, you really need to come up to the Dub Club up on Skyline Drive. Right. So we go up there, and now I've been to many dances in Kingston, but I had never heard a DJ put on a live 80s Burning Spear track, you know, recorded in Paris or something.
In a dance hall.
in Kingston.
Wow.
This is in the Dub Club.
Right.
There was that guy up there, Gabriel
Selassie. Yeah.
and he was spinning tunes which you'd hear DJs in Europe play, but I'd never heard any Jamaican play them.
Yeah.
You know, because you'd hear new things, but not old revival.
Right.
So I think your term is much better, reggae renaissance.
Right.
But I understand why it was called reggae revival, because they were DJing, they were listening to this, they were playing them in these sessions, 70s music. You know, hearing people like Pablo Moses played at a dance in Kingston.
Unheard of. Yeah.
So this was a real kind of wake-up call. There's something different going on here. And then Chronix had this tune, Odd Ras.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a young Rasta calling himself an odd Ras. How is he odd? You know, I never heard a Rasta call themselves odd before.
That is true.
Right.
In the modern era, he is, because the modern day Rasta is there's no definition. You know, there's some locks, but they don't live like that. So I could see why he would get the odd Ras, because he comes across as the odd man out, because he's upholding certain things. And again, that was also what I have to give credit to. It was an era where the music and the people matched. You know, and my father used to say to me, "Don't go in the kitchen of your favorite restaurant, right? Because you just don't go, right? So give me the music and then some of the other stuff, the secrets, keep the sauce. Keep the sauce." But I loved that little era because it pointed back to a time. And I think it is important for us to, you know, you hear them say, if we don't know the past, we don't know the future, right?
Yes.
Sonically speaking, stylistically speaking, even the aesthetics to me of the 70s, you know, we talk about that era of The Harder They Come.
Yes.
Right, which to me is the most vivid portrayal and depiction of the reggae music industry, where you come with the talent, they come with the resources, you get robbed, they get rich, right?
Yes.
And people have a tendency to apply that kind of approach to, they feel like, okay, it's the white person doing it to a black person. But it is a person doing it's a producer doing it to an artist. You could be blue, green, purple, whatever the case may be. It was just the concept of what it was. I'm the producer. I got the resources.
Yes.
And the muscle too, and the guns too.
Yes.
You can sing. Let's work together, and I'm gonna pay you with a couple of records. Right? So how accurate, in your opinion, being there back in those days, how accurate was the film The Harder They Come?
I think it was probably very accurate. But just to go back to the reggae revival, what I noticed about them, a lot of them, they were graduates. You know, a lot of them had been to the University of West Indies. They're
educated.
Got degrees. Yeah, exactly. So it was a real treat speaking to them. And, you know, we could have conversations about, you know, Walter Rodney and, you know, and all these things. And they knew about all these things. And, wow, you know, you'd arrange an interview and they'd turn up on time.
Right. That doesn't happen. That does not happen. That was Abel Cooper. Right there.
It must have been.
Abel drilled that into him.
It made the whole thing of journalism a joy. It really did. It elevated the music, and I was so happy about that.
Yeah.
And we got a whole new set of stars to write about. And talk about. And
that's the prolonging, because again, you're so right with that, because you know of that era. There is at least 10, 15. Even if they haven't reached that zenith yet, or you know they haven't maximized their star power yet. You can tell that it's coming.
Oh yeah.
Right. The concept of what a star is and what a hit is has changed. But for whatever relative it's going to be, those are the people, the Mortimers, the Lila Ikes, and you know Jessies and stuff like that. We have a lot of that coming, so that is dope. There is something that happened in reggae music that I think probably will never happen again. There's always been bands and stuff like that. You know, you heard people say reggae is a band-driven music. But there's something happened that was called Black Uhuru, right? Talk to me a little bit about Black Uhuru, because I've always felt like there has never been before, and there has never been after, and I don't know if there could ever be another like Black Uhuru? Talk to me about those guys.
Mind-blowing. They're probably my favorite ever reggae group.
Wow.
Black Uhuru. You know, in the tail end of that book, Pressure Drop, I talk about mainly through, because you've got to remember everything about that book has been told to me by people, you know, by musicians, by artists, and so on, you know.
Right.
I'm just the person who puts it together, you know. So
You're just putting just the fairy dust.
that's it, you know. But Sly Dunbar, especially, and Robbie, both talked to me at length about Black Uhuru because they were crucial to them.
Right.
And so in the latter part of the book, you hear about how they were working with Peter Tosh, and they had this little group on the side, and Sly, and went to school with Michael Rose's brother. They were very close, and so, you know, their relationship went back a long time. And it's, Black Uhuru and the earliest songs that they did with that classic lineup, Michael Rose, Puma Jones, you know, Ducky Simpson. They were done with Sly and Robbie, and they give them to U-Roy, who'd play them on Sturgarv. So these were exclusives, and they were playing in the dances in Jamaica for maybe a year before they ever came out. So the power of Black Uhuru, even though they'd recorded before then with different musicians, that Sly and Robbie and that trio, the mythology had built up. And I remember going in dances and hearing Shine-Eyed Girl. You know, and the power of that track, mind-blowing. And then the first time they ever came to England, apparently what happened was that Sly and Robbie wanted Peter Tosh to take them on tour as his support group. But his management didn't want that.
Peter's management didn't want that.
No. So Sly and Robbie decided that was it.
Right.
They were going to quit Peter, and they were going to put their energies in Black Uhuru.
Right.
And they literally did their last show with Black Uhuru in London at the Rainbow, went back to Jamaica, and within 2 weeks they were back in London playing with Black Uhuru. And I tell you, those shows were awesome. The power that came from that stage. And because you see, with Peter Tosh, they'd played stadiums of the Rolling Stones in the US.
Right.
And Robbie told me this story about the first time they went out on stage warming up for the Rolling Stones at a stadium, you know, in the US somewhere. He said he'd never been so embarrassed in his life.
Why?
Because they sounded so tinny. And, you know, they were getting booed, you know, and the crowd didn't want them. You know, we want the Stones, you know, and all of this. Mick Jagger had to come out and say, listen, these people are my friends, you know, and give them a try.
Little nepotism.
This.
Right.
So they realized that they had to do something different to compete, you know, because the whole thing about the 70s was reaching out, the music and the culture, you know, extending to other people in other places, you know. So they decided to add lead guitar, you know, to
some edge.
to Black Uhuru. Yeah. And they got this guy, Darrell Thompson, who played with Peter. And his father was a New York jazz guy, guitarist. He knew guitar, and he was a Hendrix fan and all this. So he did pretty much what Junior Marvin did in the Wailers.
Right.
But he gave them that bite, that edge. And then Robbie once told me, you know, when we went out with Black Uhuru, you know, we wanted to try and get all the plaster coming off the ceiling.
Drum and bass at work. Yeah. Probably happened too.
They went out to murder people musically.
Right.
And that's what he felt like.
Right.
You know?
I love that. And I do think that's going to, well, I hope. Let me not say think. I hope that's going to come back. There was an energy. You know, time is fluid. You know, we never relive what has happened, and we don't know what will happen. But we think about an era where this is at the inception of where people were just getting made. You talk about the Jimmy Cliffs, just getting signed to major deals,
Yes.
right? Few far and in between. Not like the late 80s into the 90s when they grabbed up a bunch.
Right.
Do you think the music has the power right now to, at any point in time, go back? I hate using the term go back to its prominence, because I feel like the music is loved amongst the cult following.
Yes.
But it was on a trajectory for a commercial appeal. There was a
Yes.
derailment, don't know why,
Yes.
right? Is it still possible for that to happen, or is reggae music and its offshoots, destined to remain to some degree underground? Because no matter how commercial it gets, it almost seems like there's room for one. There's a Shaggy, there's a Sean Paul. The rest of it is pretty much an underground phenom.
Right.
Do you feel like that the opportunity will present itself, or it's possible for the music to get that commercial growth, or it's going to maintain its underground feel?
I think the opportunity has always been there, but you got to go back to the drawing board and look at what took the music international in the first place. And you can say it was a beat. Ska was a beat. Early reggae was a beat. Rockers was a beat. But what really took it international was the message in the music. And I'm not talking about Rasta now. I'm talking about recognizing the struggles of ordinary people. Right? And the struggles for, respect, dignity, a decent livelihood, we all want the same things, just to lead a trouble-free life and raise a family and just get along, and realize our potential. But, half the world, I don't know what the percentage is, are not getting that. They're oppressed in some ways.
Yeah.
And so when reggae music, 70s reggae music says, something uplifting, or, there is power in togetherness, strength in togetherness.
Right.
That, the many can make their voices heard. This is the thing that woke up people throughout, the so-called third world, throughout, because those poor farmers in in Africa, or the people in Latin America, living under repressive regimes or whatever, they hear these songs, and that's the message they want to hear.
Right.
Now that message, Jamaica can do it, and has always had the capacity to do it. I mean, look at how many. We're going to hear lots of songs about Hurricane Melissa, and I mean, my heart goes out to Jamaica right now because of what they've endured. And look at how people responded. Look at how all the artists responded, including Shaggy and Sean Paul and Max Priest and all these people. So that desire to help people, to be part of the ordinary person's life, to make the music part of ordinary people's lives, is always been there, and it's still there. But we're not hearing it. We're not hearing it on any scale. And so the Africans have sealed up the dancehall vibes, the good time party vibes. They've done it.
Right.
And they've got huge populations.
Right.
Compare the population of Nigeria to that of Jamaica, really. There's no comparison.
No comparison. Yep.
So they can get millions of Spotify, hits and YouTube and all of this. They can get the numbers.
Right.
And it's the numbers that make the difference between success and failure these days.
Right.
So, they've got that sewn up, essentially, despite the best efforts of, Shaggy and Sean Paul and so on.
Right.
But the gap, the vacuum that's waiting to be filled is the content. It's the content.
Right.
It's the thing that brings us all together
Right.
as people.
The beat's not enough.
The beat
The
isn't
energy's
enough.
not enough. The content has to be a little bit more.
Reggae music can do that.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've always I have to agree with you. Reggae is more than a beat. It's more than the sonics. It's a lot of the content, what it said. And it's funny, you said something just now. You were saying we all want the same thing. And as the minute you said that, what went into my head was Black Uhuru, solidarity. That's literally what I heard when you were saying that, right? The edgiest band ever, but asking for solidarity, right?
Yes.
Everybody want the same thing.
Yes.
I dig that. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you're just joining us, let me get us to the folks on camera. It's called Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s. Again, Mr. John Masouri, we're talking about the thing he said. I must have Reggae Bible. When it comes to reading, I read for pure entertainment, right? If you put some information in there, I will grasp it, right? Yes. But I'm not the guy that's going to go pick up the book. Don't give me the self-help one, right? I'm not for that one. This book, I cannot. It's factual. It's got the information in there. But just listening to you speak right now, if what you're speaking right now is a fraction of what this book has to give to me, then I can't wait to dive in. The good thing about it is I'm going to be on a flight very, very soon. And I don't like flying. So what I generally do is try to force myself to sleep the first couple of minutes. So I will be up checking this book out.
It will put you to sleep in minutes.
No, I doubt that. I doubt that. My favorite artist of all times, I always feel like there's somebody that inspires you, makes you want to do what you do. The first person that made me want to pick up a microphone and say I would ever sing a song was who I deem one of the greatest voices, not reggae voice, but just voices. The late, great Dennis Emmanuel Brown, right? Talk to me a little bit about D. Brown.
D. Brown. What a humble, unassuming person he was. Always greet you with a smile. Make you feel special, welcome. Infuriating, I would say.
I guess this is what. One D Brown.
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
You could never ever hold it against him.
Right.
He could keep you waiting hours or days.
Right.
And when he saw you, it's like everything was washed away.
Right.
And, it was a new day and, you just...
That never happened.
No, that never happened.
It is Brown.
That never happened. And, no, lovely person.
Yeah.
And such a great singer. And so... if you spoke to him about, say, like his voice, he would tell you where he got it from. It was just very humble like that.
Right.
And he was generous to a fault. And I think a lot of people took advantage of him because of that.
Right.
And but we used to see a fair amount of him, not just shows, but shows definitely, but he had a family and he had a home in London, and so there were all these places that we'd go to, regularly, record stores, the distributors. Our equivalent of VP, in London was Jetstar,
right,
and very many times you go to Jetstar and bump into Dennis or Gregory, who also spent a lot of time in London. And so, yes, I got to know Dennis, as a person quite a bit too. But I never got to interview him in years.
No?
No, and one of the biggest regret of my journalist career is that he was supposed to meet me, and of course he never turned up. Just like he never turned up a lot of times before.
In true Dennis fashion.
Right. So I rang him, and he said, "Listen, I'm at a birthday party, and I could hear in the background, it was like bedlam." It was like craziness.
Wow.
And it was one of his children's birthday parties.
Oh, okay.
So, and I said, so, what? And he said, I'm here, like spooning out the jelly.
Being a family man.
Right. And so you could come and we could do the interview now.
Right.
But this is on the other side of London,
Right.
Getting across London is like, it can take you all day.
Right.
So I said, no, you know what? I'm going to call. I'm not
enjoy
gonna
the
do that.
family.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You carry on, and all the time in the background, I can hear screams of delight and everything. It just sounded chaos. So I'll talk to you next week. So, and that was the nearest, actually.
You got to having that convo.
Yeah, and I turned it down. It's sad. I should have crawled over there on my hands and knees to do that and be spooning jelly out.
It's funny you said that. I had a similar circumstance where I was supposed to do an interview, and this was, a little bit post-COVID when this whole virtual stuff had become. I don't like it, right? I prefer sitting down and having a conversation with you,
right?
And there was an artist that I was supposed to have a conversation with, and I said, legendary art, and I said, listen, I don't want to do this over the phone. Can I wait till you're in town?
Yes.
And he's like, yeah. And he passed away.
Yeah.
Never made. So I said to myself that I've never, even if I have to just grab it over the phone and stuff like that, because oftentimes when the moment passes, it never comes back for one reason or another,
Yes.
But, we talk about one thing with the music, and I don't know how much this may be the biggest contributing factor to how it is right now, is the appreciation for it. And I have noticed that the appreciation, though this is Jamaica, this is Jamaicans, I think there's almost like an entitlement, an unappreciated entitlement. But I feel like the appreciation for the music itself comes a lot more from those outside of the shores of Jamaica, namely Europe, the UK and stuff like that. And I primarily see that with artists like Burning Spear, where Burning Spear in Jamaica probably wouldn't be able to pull the mass together like he would be able to in Europe. And I've heard people talk about the music, and you know how people are. They like to, herald the music. This is great, but if I said, name me 3 Burning Spear songs, they probably couldn't, right?
Yes. Talk
to me a little bit about Mr. Winston Rod. Talk to me a little bit about Burning Spear, because to me, he's the biggest enigma in music there is, as far as I am concerned.
Yes.
Because as huge as Burning Spear is, like I said, if I pulled up to even people my age, they know the name Spear. But a lot of them can't sing 3 Burning Spear songs. Talk to me a little bit about Spear.
The first time he came to London was, I think, 1977, and I was at that show, and he was backed by members of Aswad. He didn't have his own show. And, we're talking about an era where a lot of soul bands wore matching lime green suits with big collars and this, and synchronized steps and everything. This man, leading up to those shows, he and the Abyssinians, but chiefly Burning Spear, were the ones who carried that message of Rasta into the heart of the UK reggae community.
Right.
Those songs, Slavery Days, they, Marcus Garvey and so on, those were the songs that really carried that spiritual power.
Right.
And there was an aura about him.
Yes.
So we were ready for the aura. And this man walks out on stage with one trouser leg rolled up, looking like he'd just come from the hills.
Big up Spear.
This is his debut London performance.
Spear.
Central Park.
Where it is, Spear, the legend.
Yeah. So this was no Mr. Showbiz.
Right.
He was all about the
music.
culture, the message, and the music. And there was a reverence around him.
Right.
And I think that he's done a very good job of keeping that reverence around him.
Right.
Most definitely. And, the thing is, people are always saying, the next Bob Marley or whatever, but Spear was was right up there as one of those figureheads I was talking about.
Right.
And since Bob Marley's passed, the one singer that I've met and interviewed and spent some time with that I felt was in that category and could shift the dial for the whole genre was Garnet Silk.
Oh man, love me some Garnet Silk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gone too soon.
Yeah.
Gone
And
too soon.
the day I interviewed him was in London at his hotel, and he was due to make his first London show appearance that night.
Right.
And I remember, saying goodbye to him as he got into the car and so on, and I was going to be seeing him later I never saw him later that evening because the people who picked him up in the car kidnapped him.
What?
Yes. They
Kidnapped Garnet Silk?
They did, and they held him to ransom, and the promoters didn't pay the ransom. And so he never showed up at the gig.
What? I've never heard this before. The Garnet got kidnapped in London?
And I waved him off. And I said hello to the guys who kidnapped him.
So, well, let me phrase it this way, which is all wrong, but I'm just going to do it for the soundbite. You made them kidnap Garnet?
Accessory to the crime.
You're accessory to all this stuff. The silky one?
I knew as much about it as he did.
Garnet Silk. I love me some Garnet Silk. Loved me some Garnet Silk. I tell when I went to a semi-military school in Jamaica for high school, and you could borrow anything from me. I had all kinds of stuff. You could borrow my clothes, borrow whatever the case may be. You could not borrow my Garnet Silk CD. It's growing. It wasn't a CD. It was a cassette tape. I had that album. It's growing. Anything you can get, you ask me for, I might give it to you. There's no way, no how. I'm sharing my Garnet Silk CD, like a cassette with you. That's how Reverend was. And I think you are so right. Over the years, at least of my lifetime, that is the person who I've heard most compared. And let me take back the word compared. Yes. Most people, kind of heralded as the next Bob. I often wondered why, but I do think more than, I don't know if it's the music, I think it is the word you use for Burning Spirits, aura.
Yes.
Garnet Silk did have an aura.
He did.
That was bigger than him and unique to him. And even going back to Spear, I often wonder if maybe the reason why Spear doesn't have that commercial appeal amongst his own masses is that he's without rapper. Yes. There's no frills.
No.
Most artists have frills. Even Bob has a certain aesthetic that is put together for him.
Yes.
You're so right. Spear, to this day, no frills. It's peel the wrapper off and you get what's inside.
Yes. With Garnet, I remember the novelty of hearing spiritual music in a dance in Kingston.
Yeah.
You could go to House of Leo, and Stone Lover playing, and it was pure Skin Out or Gun Lyrics or whatever it was.
Right.
And then you'd hear this voice just cut through everything.
Right.
Those early songs, it's Give I Mercy, The Rod, and, Bless Me, all of those songs. They would be played in the dance.
Yeah.
And he was a game changer. Yeah. And that opened the door for Luciano. It opened the door for, Raz Shiloh, Peter Morgan, all these people who sounded like it.
Like Garnet, yeah.
Yeah. He was very influential, just like Dee Brown was in his day, was very influential.
Very, very influential. Just the difference with the two is just the volume of work because he died so young.
Absolutely.
But he was on, I'm never falling into the next Bob's, thing. Because I don't think there's a next Bob. Whatever the formula was. And it's not just music, it's just whatever was put together to make Bob is probably not going to happen again.
I think the song that you can point to is one called Slave, and it's on the very last album that Garnet ever did, and he did it all on original rhythms, and the music was Aston Family Man Barrett playing bass on that track and orchestrating that track. And if you want to hear Garnet sounding just like Bob Marley, that is the song.
Wow. I'm gonna check that out because I don't think I'm not familiar with. I don't think I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I gotta check that one out.
When I say orchestrating, I don't mean strings, by the way. I just mean putting it together.
Right, put together the right way. And the other thing too, and I'm sure you've probably been told this before. You need to do this on an audiobook because you do have the voice that I can go on a road trip and listen to. You have to do an audiobook. As I hear you talk about House of Leo, and because here's the thing with not just music, but I think maybe it's a Jamaican thing.
Yes.
Jamaica is a small country, but it is very fragmented in terms of the people in Kingston. Now it's a little different because roads are different and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times that people have gone through their entire lives being from Kingston and never having been to Montego Bay.
Yes.
Right? Being from Manchester and never having been to Ocho Rios and stuff like that, right? And I just feel like that fragmented situation is kind of why some of the music sometimes we can't get it to permeate the whole country because it's regional, right? And the information and the conversations, and that's the reason why I am so excited about reading a book like this, because you are taking me into. I'm Ocho Rios, so I'm James Avenue, I'm Jack Ruby. You know what I mean? I'm Roof Club. That's my spot.
Courtney Cole.
I got so much Courtney Cole stories where I lied to girls, telling them that was my uncle to get, but I do what I had to do, right? So, but that's what I love about a book like this, is capturing the stuff that is not regional. As I hear you talk about the different places, the different eras, I am going to, for my own entertainment, put out some of the audio without your picture on it. No pictures, like just make it black, right? Yeah. And just have people listen to the voice, talking about House of Leo, talking about Skyline, and have them go research. I'll just probably put your name on it, no picture. Go find it, you gotta go find them. And I promise you'd probably never be as Googled before, because it's so awesome to hear the stories. I wish I could have you in here for 3 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, Pressure Drop. And again, Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s, John Masouri. The book itself is out because I saw it on online, so I know the book is out. If they come to the book fair, are they going to be able to buy the books there, or are you just going to be giving them the info, talking about the book? Will they be able to get a copy there?
No, they'll be able to get copies there. What do you mean? It's a book fair.
Listen, I've seen the book fair. Somebody shows up and is talking about the book. I'm like, where's the book? I'll go get it on Amazon. It's like artists that don't have no merch.
Yes. And what I'm hoping is that the next Miami Book Fair, Marcia Griffiths will be there with her book because she deserves it.
Right.
She's got a fabulous story, and I would really recommend that when her book comes out, that people really check for that.
They will. People love Marcia. Let me tell you something. There's 4 things people love in Jamaica, right? They love football. I won't say they love track and field. I love Usain Bolt, right? They love Bob Marley. I love some Marcia Griffiths. Marcia can do no wrong. Marcia runs through the town. I don't think they should charge Marcia for anything, because we just love us some Marcia. Marcia can speed, no tickets. That's just Marcia. We love us some Marcia. Ladies and gentlemen, the book again is called Pressure Drop, Reggae in the 70s, and the book fair it's the Miami Book Fair. You're going to be in conversation with Randall Grass.
Yes.
Who is himself phenomenal.
Yes.
All right. And this is going to be Sunday, the 23rd of November, 1 p.m., room 8106. And what I'll do is I'm going to put the podcast up on Apple Music and Spotify, and I'll put this stuff in the show notes. I'll try to have this up real soon. And it's 300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami. Again, first floor, Building 8.
Thank you.
I'm old. I'm not going to remember none of that. So I have to put the show notes in there so that people can read it.
I didn't remember either.
So I'm not going to remember, but they can always go back to this. And the book is available. Pressure Drop chronicles reggae's most tumultuous and influential decade, beginning in 1970, and unfolding both in Britain and Jamaica. Reggae flourished against a backdrop of political upheaval, gang warfare, black nationalism, racial and class discrimination, and grinding poverty. All right? Factual. Factual. And I think all of that just pressured and, again, Pressure Drop. boiled over, settled into what we have today as our reggae music.
Yes.
And I'm glad I have someone like yourself who can chronicle it, because again, we hear the stories from those people who are giving you the story that they heard from the guy who knows the guy who met the guy that used to date the girl. Who, you know what I mean? One of those situations.
Well, this is the thing, that after all these years as a journalist, people have taken their time and trouble to share their stories with me, which have appeared in magazines or whatever all these years. Mm-hmm. But, a book it's kind of an institution, it's something for people to refer to. And so you feel the responsibility that these people, they've entrusted me with their stories. Mm-hmm. And so it's up to me, to make sure that those stories can be heard.
Right.
And preferably in their own words. So I quote from a lot of people in this book.
It's funny. I'm going to do what the Rastas call fire burn right now. I'm going to burn out some people, right? Mm-hmm. This is the third call I've gotten this evening. They're not calling to talk to me. These people are calling because you're here, John. I'm telling you this. Stan, Steve, John, I'm calling all the names. You ain't calling me. Just calling because you're on Facebook. And you see John Masouri in here. You want to say what's up to John, and I'm not answering intentionally because this is my taking revenge. This is what I'm doing. So I'm just letting you know. All these people, this phone here ringing over here, it's not my family, and he's calling on the other line. So, Steve James?
I do. Bless him.
Look at me, Steve.
Do.
Hold on 1 second. Steve, I am plugging you in live. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to plug you in live. Right. Steve.
John is there.
You are in our headphones right now, Steve.
You are.
And before John speaks, I just want to, again, bun you out because I'm doing this on live stream right about now. I know you're not calling for me, Steve. I know you're not calling for me. But John can hear it. John can hear it. Talk to him.
Oh, Steve, it's so good to hear your voice.
Oh my word! In the place, brethren.
Oh, absolutely. You've been in my heart and my thoughts ever since. You really have.
I'm telling you, man. I'm watching a video right now with him. Right now, as we speak with him,
Yes,
man,
yes. He's almost as good an interviewer as you are.
and Steve.
Yes.
I'm hanging up on you right now, right? Because I know it's way more torturous for me to put you on the phone for 3 seconds and cut you off than not pick up at all. This is me taking it out on you. You know what I mean?
How long are you here for, John? Call me tomorrow.
For another week.
We have to link up, man. I'm off tomorrow. Link me, man.
You're too famous for me.
No.
Jano. What give thanks, Steve? Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. All right, cool.
Let's see. I probably shouldn't have done that because then I'm going to get the other calls coming back in now. But it's all good. Let me see who I missed. Did I miss anybody else?
You're popular.
Probably did. No, I'm not. I am the guy that they have my phone number, but they only call when John's here. So I don't know about it. I don't know if that's popularity. With Miss Marcia, you think we should try to get Marcia?
Yeah.
Try to get Marcia? Let's see what's going on. See if we can't get to her. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing it a little differently today. Auntie Marcia, I'm sorry I missed your call. Here's the deal. John is here. I'm gonna plug you in live. You're live on air. I'm gonna plug you with John right now. 1 second. Hold on. Auntie Marcia, John can hear you.
Hi, Brother John.
Marcia, blessed. Oh, lovely to hear your voice.
Wow, John, this is the biggest surprise. I never thought you would ever leave London, so to hear that you're here in town was a big surprise for me, a pleasant surprise though.
Marcia, how can you say that? We last met the other week in Spain. That wasn't London.
Yeah, I am saying, to come back to the west, this side, on the west side.
Yes.
It was really surprising for me to hear that you're here. But it's good to have you, and I was just here listening to the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Did you hear me say that I recommended your book, Marcia?
No, I came on late.
I was telling them about your story, and it's a very unique story. And G and I were talking earlier about that. And next year's book fair, I hope to see you there, Marcia.
Well, of course, but you know what I want to tell you? Live and direct. I was just sitting here with a friend while I was listening, and I don't know anyone who is as knowledgeable, about the music more than you, and even different individual artists. You have their whole history and their whole life story, because I didn't have to speak a lot because you just know it all,
That's because you told me.
John, I never know you knew so much about my life and my journey in the music.
Oh, well,
Wow.
You know what the trick is? The trick is to pretend that we're having an interview, but really we're just having a conversation.
Well, that was the most beautiful part. Yes, it's true. That's true.
Wow.
That was the most beautiful part too. You're conversing, but at the same time, you're so comfortable because you're bringing out a lot of things in me, which was, it made it so easy.
Oh,
Wow.
bless you. It's
Wow.
nice of you to say
Because
that.
even some of the things that I totally forgot, you prompt me on a lot of things.
Yes. Well, I didn't allow you too many secrets, Marcia. That's for you to take them out.
That's true. That's true.
So you're gonna have to come through with the book in the Marcia. You have to come through the studio with the book, and we can talk about it.
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
But
man.
what you should have done, Mr. Cole, is to inform me, because I would come in and sit on this chat.
But I didn't know
John.
about the book thing until you called me this evening, so I had no idea.
Oh, maybe that was a surprise.
I had no idea. It's when you called me, I was like, really? And I told him once he walked in, I said, Marcia, just call me now. So, but we're gonna arrange something, man. I always love sitting down with you anyway.
I know. But
Yeah, man.
John, it is such a pleasure. Welcome to this side of the world.
Thank you.
And yes, I know that book there, it's really going to do well.
Thank
It's
you.
like a music Bible.
Literally.
Marcia, the first thing I told him was he makes me feel like Moses.
No, it's
Oh my God. No, but as long as it is true, that's the most important thing.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
No, absolutely.
But make sure you come
So,
through with that
John-
book, man.
Yeah.
No, we're going to do it again, John, but continue to keep the fire burning. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Marcia. No, thank
But
you.
I'd love to see you before you take off,
Okay, well,
So-
I'll message you tomorrow.
Okay, John.
Yes? Are
Much
you
love.
around for the next week or so?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that's good. Yes.
See?
Thank
Gonna make
you,
it happen.
Marcia.
Gonna make it happen.
Alrighty. So I'm sending lots of love and blessings to you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Much
just
love.
keep the fire blazing, right?
Like you said in your song, keep a fire burning.
That's right. All right. Okay, John. Much
Thank
love.
you. Much love, Marcia. Thank you.
Much love.
Okay.
Blessings. They love you, John. I'm telling you, they love you. That we let me see. We gonna have to call it a wrap. I can't do no more. Can't do no more. Stein, I'll link you up a little more. All right. So thank you so much. And again,
Thank
the
you.
book Pressure Drop. Reggae in the 70s. Mr. John Masouri. And I need to have a conversation with Mr. Murray Lash real soon. I got to figure out how to strong arm him when I get him in there. You know what I mean? It'll come. So, or maybe what I'll do is I'll hold you hostage, like you know what I mean, kidnap you like they did Garnet, and see if he'll pay the ransom by coming in and having the conversation.
Think about it, John.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Thank you so much for locking in and rocking out with us. I appreciate you. It's been one of those conversations that I have had such a thrill having. John, thanks for passing through.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Good luck with the book. I know it's going to do amazing. And of course, go and check out not just this book. Well, let's focus on this book right now. It's like your new album. Focus on this book right now, but afterwards, go and build a collection. I am building a bookshelf. Right, in my house.
Yes.
So right now I can it's like a window seat, like a little nook area. My wife wanted it for that, so I can put a little spot and get all the books and then I'll just put them right there, you know. Cup of coffee.
I want to see the photos.
I'll get them to you.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has indeed been a pleasure. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. Homegrown with G. Cole available everywhere. All right. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, be safe, be kind, and be good to each other. My name is G. Cole, and this is Homegrown.
Nakikinika sa música, Homegrown with G. Cole.
Estás escuchando Homegrown con G. Cole.
您现在正在收听的是 Homegrown with G. Cole.
You're listening to Homegrown with G. Cole.
Remember, all the music played here on the podcast Homegrown with G. Cole is available on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, and all your digital retailers. Please support the artists.